Hey, Joe.
Stop it.
Why? The reason I'm doing this hey is because you always laugh at me in real life situations, so I'm going to do it on the podcast.
You pull a weird face, though.
Hey.
I'm going to call it a pesto face.
No, I'm not pesto. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Vic.
Something that I have noticed recently from conversations with some of our clients and also some of our not clients yet. Prospects is the word. About scepticism of business coaches.
Oh, I liked the emphasis on business coaches there.
Business coach. So, are we right to be sceptical?
I'd be sceptical.
I would too. And I was very sceptical before I entered this cultish world that we are living in right now.
My honest view.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. I used to think, and I would be lying if I said it's not my default thought now. I can turn it around, but it's my default thought. If I want to learn about growing and scaling, and even if not scaling, if I just wanted to learn about how to make more money in my dog business so that I had more money, time, freedom, all the good stuff, I was and am incredibly skeptical about in-industry coaches. My gut reaction is to not believe that they are going to get me the outcome that I want.
Where does that gut reaction come from?
I don't know, being completely honest.
So if we're talking about the dog industry right now, what, because of the state of it, I'm going to call it the state because it is a state, what are your reservations there?
I think my reservations have always been there, which is ironic, really, considering that we are now those people offering the same service.
But that's the reason we exist, because we don't feel like it exists at the moment.
No,
There's a big
this
gap.
And this is, it's a hard one to talk about, isn't it? Because we can see people doing amazing things within that realm. We can also see it not being done. I don't even want to say it like it's not being done very well or as well, but it's just so different. And I feel like perhaps there isn't enough. Well, this is my perception of it anyway. I don't think there's enough breadth of knowledge outside of the industry.
Yeah.
To be able to really make a change. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's for me personally. Whenever I've looked at it, I thought, well, actually, if I'm really thinking about it, because I always really think about it on the podcast and I really think about it in day-to-day life, I never saw anybody from a business coaching point of view doing anything that I felt inspired to copy, I suppose. I didn't feel inspired that whatever they were doing in the day job, let's call it, was going to impact me positively, unless I wanted to do the norm of what we feel are quite archaic service offerings. So I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
So what enabled you then? And I'm asking you this because you were almost, I'm going to call you, please don't let your head get that big.
Oh.
Almost going to call you a pioneer.
Oh,
here we go. What have I done? A pioneer of...
I was expecting it to be a derogatory comment.
Well,
that's why.
you are used to that more so, aren't you? But no, I feel credit where credit's due here, is that little pioneering Joe had the idea to go, so I'm learning from all these people outside the industry, that can definitely be applied to this industry. Because I do feel like there would be, and me for certain, without your guidance on this as well, I'd have really struggled to see the parallels there and see how, well, it's going to work in that industry, but it's not going to work in this industry, is it? Because this industry is so specific. This industry is so blah, blah, blah. And yeah, okay, it is in lots of ways. We are dealing with not just a person, we're dealing with a person and a creature, but a creature. I meant to say sentient being and it never came out. So creature came out instead. Do you know, so there are, it is harder, if you like, for us to an extent, because we are dealing with more than one, like
one customer.
There are moving parts, basically, literally, aren't there? So 2 customers effectively. But so let me leave it at this question then for now. What enabled you to see that you could implement that into the dog industry where others couldn't probably see it?
It's a good question, and one I'm not entirely sure I have an answer for without thinking about it, because I think for me, as a lot of you will probably know now, I am very much one for trying to think outside the box, or I'll try and do what's in the box first. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, I get really twitchy about it. Oh, it doesn't feel right. And I need to sort this out. I need to fix it. I think I'm very much a fix it person.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a detriment in some areas, but
because sometimes the fix-its are quite big tasks.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the fix-its would probably fix themselves should more time be allowed. But as we know, I'm quite, hold on, no, like now, just do it now. So I'm learning, it's all a journey. But I think for me, I tried the stuff that I was being taught to do by dog training mentors, by mimicking what others were doing around me. And actually at that time, some of those people around me, they did have incredibly successful businesses. So it did feel quite inspirational to me to be able to have that. However, the execution just didn't feel right for me, but I couldn't figure out what else to do. And I've always been one for learning and consuming knowledge. And yes, I did that to the nth degree with dog knowledge. But I was also really interested in, I'm going to say business, but I think sometimes when you say business, like you think it's a really boring business book. Like even when I hear it, I'm like, I'm not sitting there reading on a step-by-step guide on how to build a business. Do you know what I mean? It's more about, I don't know, like people's journeys and people who have got multi 6-7-figure businesses. I just find it really interesting, and looking at the mindset and the journey.
Coming over adversities, like overcoming adversities is quite a common thing in entrepreneurship as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it just really, I don't know, it's always been like an undercurrent within me to go, I just find it really interesting, but I've always struggled with your traditional business stuff. Like I studied business studies and that at school and at college, but it just wasn't floating my boat at all. I was like, I just can't connect the dots. And when I've seen it work in other ways, and that I like being inspired by people. And I've realised actually over these last 12 months, with all the work that we've been doing on our individual selves as well as the business, I've learned a lot about myself, in that I genuinely believe that my purpose is to inspire others and to inspire a change. And I think that has come from me learning and me doing and me testing and me trying, and never ever taking that first answer as a given. Like always trying to purposely find fault with it to see if it works. Because if it works, then there should be no fault. So it's almost like I'm going to be that annoying child that goes like, I want to try and break it. Because if I can break it, how easily can I break it? And try and build something that's robust around it. But just keep learning. And I think tying that in with the psychology of loving learning about dogs and really getting into the intricacies of how the brain works and all the pathways and all of that. Like I geek out on it so much that I'm like, if we're doing that for dogs, then who are dogs owned by? Humans. And humans have these same, if not more, complicated brains. In fact, not even if not more. We have incredibly complicated brains. So that psychology has to apply to you as well as a human being. So I could be the best dog trainer in the world, but I'm never going to get my hands on a dog unless I can speak to a human. And for me, I actually realised that whilst I love dog training, I actually love coaching and teaching more. And I genuinely believe that that's why I was able to turn my business around and look at it in a different perspective, because I wasn't all in on the dogs.
Interesting. And this is nice that now we've got the opportunity to delve into the psychology with the people that work with us now, because there's so much of that mindset that we need to work through, that we're almost, no offence everybody if you're working with us, but we're almost treating you like the dog. We've got to discover where that behaviour comes from, where those actions come from, where those thoughts come from. And it's unpeeling the layers exactly as you would with a dog. So almost our role of working with dogs is transferred now to you guys that work with dogs. So if we can do our part to clear all of those blockers and help you free up your brain a bit, then effectively we're still helping the dogs. And that's why I love what we do now, because we haven't ever stepped away. Okay, we're now concentrating on business, if you like, but we haven't stepped away from it at all, because we know the work we do with trainers or whoever else comes on board with us is going to impact those dogs anyway, and the owners, and all of that we used to do lots and lots of. So I love that. I want to also delve into the perception of, and I think this is true from what I hear and what I see, that a lot of business coaches are in it just to make loads of money. Ooh. What's your thoughts about that? Let's chat that through, because that comes from somewhere.
It does come from somewhere.
Where does it come from, and why do people think that? And there probably are. There's always unscrupulous people in industry, always. But I do think that it's a very, very small proportion of people that do.
I agree. I think it comes back down to fear of the unknown. And I think there's a few things that can be kind of covered within that answer, because I think money is always going to be an objection in any way, shape or form. It does not matter the amount of it. It almost becomes a bit unimportant, because if you truly believe in the person that you're thinking of investing with, and you believe in the outcome, then it's a nominal amount. It makes no difference. But I think because certainly British culture anyway, we are so scared to talk about money. We are so conditioned that if you haven't got it, you don't spend it. In fact, I was having a conversation with somebody today about how you can't possibly make a large investment up front. It should be very much like the builder's trade, whereby you put a deposit down and then you pay in increments, or you pay at the end of the service. And I respectfully disagreed with her. And I was like, actually, I really wish builders would charge up front. I wish they would put the full investment out up front and go, this is what it is. This is what you're going to get. And for me personally, it would feel more of a professional service than this little bit of, like, oh, do you want to do a bit of cash in hand so I don't have to pay the bit? Like, it just feels really underhand all the time on everything. And I think it's a really hard one to say from the dog training side of it, because I don't know where my belief came from that I didn't think it was the right way for me to go, because I didn't feel like I was going to get the outcome that I wanted. But then on the flip side of that, more so since we've been doing this and more people are opening up to us with their experiences of other business coaches, it's interesting to me that some of the comments we've had back is that they've worked with people outside of the industry and they didn't get it. Like, the coaches just didn't get it at all. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it was ultimately a waste of money or a waste of time, or whichever value you're holding higher. And to me, I'm always critiquing every thought process and going, well, why did you choose them in the first place? What was the outcome that you believed you was going to get? How much time and effort, arguably, did both parties, so you and the coach, put into the sales process to truly understand one another? Because if you had all the information you deemed important, if the coach, fully understood what it was you were trying to achieve, then it should be a win-win if both parties feel like it's right. If the business coach is almost offering a bit of a cookie cutter approach, where it's like, no, you do this, and
This is kind of what we've heard the most of.
yeah. And I think it's a really hard one to try and articulate, because to a degree, there is an element of cookie cutter advice that, in my opinion, and our opinion, you have to follow to be able to have a solid foundation to your business. However, that doesn't mean that you can't put these little, and they only have to be tiny little nuances sometimes, don't they? So arguably, if I was thinking quite negatively about you guys who are listening now, there are some of you out there who are potentially, and I don't know, but you could be potentially thinking, well, if I work with Joe and Vicky, all they're going to tell me to do is have a long-term program and a high ticket price. That's it. Now, you wouldn't be wrong in that being one of our suggestions. However, what is high ticket? That in itself is a whole, well, there's loads of money mindset around that, because you could be incrementally increasing your prices from £50 to £100. That could be high ticket. You could be doing £1,000 program. That could be high ticket. You could be doing a £2,000. Like, do you know what I mean? There's so many variances of that. And again, long term, well, yes, it is our belief that the longer you can work with someone, the better, or at least look to retain them for longer, all with it being customer focused. However, if your business model doesn't suit that and that's not what you're looking for, then we have to look at it and tweak it and adapt it. And we go, right, okay, what's going on? If you've got, I don't know, like health commitments or health struggles where you're like, actually, it totally wipes me out several weeks, months of the month or year, well, we have to look at that. We can't just say, go and do this model and off you go. You have to really get into the nitty gritty of what it is you're trying to achieve. And I think it's a really long answer because I'm processing as you're as I'm talking. But I think back to the original question of business coaches are maybe in it for themselves, and I think that's an internal fear from somewhere. I don't think that's a widespread business coach specific thing. I think that's a very individual perception. Mm-hmm. But that individual perception does happen to be quite widely spread.
Yeah.
So it does come from somewhere, but I don't think it's necessarily something that's really obvious. I think it's so bespoke to each person.
And it's another comment I heard was that they're popping up all over the place and people are jumping on the bandwagon because it sounds like an easy thing to do. That's what I've heard as well.
Interesting.
I wish it was easy. It's really not.
No, it really isn't. I would agree in terms of I've seen more and more come up. However, it could also be, when you're looking for a new car.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Because we keep seeing Defenders everywhere.
We've put Defenders on our vision board to go, we want one and we want CBA 1 and 2 as the reg.
But we can't have it.
No, it's got to be longer.
I know. I think it's got to be 1 something CBA or 2 something CBA. Yeah. But anyway, we'll sort that out when we get one. Because it will happen.
It will happen. It's on the vision board. But yeah, exactly like that. So you've set your sights on something and then all of a sudden it's opened up everywhere. So I remember saying this to a friend who I had met earlier on in my dog training journey, and she became a really close friend actually, and she was doing loads and loads of different things, and I was going, I'm in the early stages of starting my business. I don't think there's anybody in my area that's doing dog training. And she was like, are you kidding me? I was like, no, I really don't think there's anybody there. I've only found one. She's like, there'll be more than one. I was like, no, I don't think there is. I think I've actually found like the perfect niche. But it's because I was brand new. I didn't know anything about it. And then, oh, lo and behold, I'm like, oh, yeah, there's one there. There's one there. There's one there. But it's because my brain hadn't opened up to the concept that this is a thing that you can do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
So I do wonder if there's actually a mix of, are people popping up, or have they always been there and now you're just aware of it? So yes, my view is that I think there's a bit of both. I think there is a case of the awareness opens, but I do actually think that thought is right. I do think more and more are popping up, but I do think it's very closely related to you're aware of it as well. I don't think you can have one without the other. And with regards to people popping up thinking it's, I don't know, or it's that viewpoint again of somebody else, isn't it? Looking at it going, oh, that's an easy thing to do. That's an easy way to make money. But I'm going to bring that back down to going, that is something to do with your negative mindset around that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also be lying if I didn't have this thought several years ago when I was investing in my own personal development and my own business mentors, etc. I had that thought at that time going, oh, look how much money you can charge for a room full of people here. And I'd sit there and I'd count all the heads and go, oh my God, if this had cost me like, I don't know, like £1,000 or something to be there, and there's 15 people in the room, I'm like, fuck, you've just made 15 grand from this one day or this one course or whatever it is. And that was how I would think. Like, oh, nobody would pay that for dog training though. I can't possibly make that much money. You imagine charging £1,000 for a dog owner to sit in a room and learn about dogs. And it's all negative mindsets, all negative.
But that's almost like, when we get annoyed that someone thinks, like, even if we're charging a nominal amount that most people might charge, like 50 quid an hour or something. And if that ever gets questioned, it's like, do you realise it's not just me turning up and doing the session, it's the pre-work, it's the after work, it's the stuff I write up, it's the stuff I send you, it's the videos, and it's exactly the same. So when you're counting up those people in the room, look how much prep has gone into that. Look how much knowledge they've had to consume. Look how much money they've spent on learning. And we're just seeing that moment in time and going like that, they're making a shit ton of money here in this like 3 hours that we're sat in this room for, when actually, no, they're not. They're probably just earning. And in some cases with these events that we've learnt about, we know that they barely break even sometimes because of the amount they put into it, the investments that go in. So it's that surface level thing. It's our brains going, oh, this is easy. No, it isn't. It's not. And because you're a dog trainer and it's not easy to be a dog trainer. So if we take a step back from that and just look at it through that kind of lens slightly differently, I think it will make you think a little bit as well.
One step further on that, why do we care?
Well, exactly. Why do we care? I don't know.
Why is it a problem if, so take you and I, if we had our separate dog training businesses again, 30, 25 minutes away from each other, what does it matter if you're earning 2 grand a month and you're happy and that affords you the life that you want to live, like a comfortable life, if not a little bit more than comfortable, and everything's fine and dandy, you're happy, you're fulfilled. Do you know what I mean? Like everything is, like 9, 10 out of 10, a good majority of the time. And if I am 25 minutes away and let's say I'm earning 10 grand a month, but my bills are a lot higher and we don't lead any other different lifestyle aside from the fact that the bills that need paying are substantially different. So why and I know people would look at this, not just in industry, but everywhere, they would look at that and go, oh, well, the 10K earner is clearly much better off.
Yeah. But actually, you've got a much higher outgoing. So like you're not at all.
You've got a complete, like your life must be absolutely fine if you're earning 10K and you're only earning 2K by comparison. But even in our example, I've got best part of £2,000 a month on childcare costs. So you don't have children, so you're not going to have that cost. So immediately it's not a direct comparable. And again, even if it was a direct comparable, even if we both compared it on, I don't know, like dog daycare, if we used it, you could be paying more than me just based on the service providers that are out there. So it doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter, because everybody has got their own money goal that they want to achieve for whatever reason. And the reason shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if it's just to pay the bills or if it's actually you want more from life and you want to go on luxury holidays and you want to do all this. And if a client is happy to pay you, as we've discussed with Ramel previously, if they're happy to pay you for that fair exchange of service for your value of money, who cares? So it does fascinate me. It really fascinates me, the mentality and the thought process that goes into critiquing the unknown so much and making it such a big thing. And I totally get the skepticism around business coaches, but I think it's because, again, look at the state of the industry at the moment, and as it has been for the last however many years anyway. Who you surround yourself with, you're going to start adopting their view. And if everybody else is talking negatively about something, you will start hearing those thoughts, and that will start seeping into your subconscious as well. And if you are hearing, I'm thinking about like my mum and dad now when they watch, these programs on like daytime TV and like cowboy builders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's more, but I can't think of the name of them. And that mentality creeps in of going like, oh, you're going to get got. You're going to get got, which is such a weird phrase, but it makes sense. Yeah. You're going to get got by this cowboy builder because look at all these other people that this has happened to. That person invested with that business coach and it didn't do anything for them. Well, do you know the reasons why it didn't do anything for them? They said they wasn't very good. But you don't know the intricacies of it.
Also, let's flip that into dog training. How many people have said it hadn't worked when they've worked with you?
Beautiful. Yeah.
I've had it. I know I've given that service or delivered that service to the best of my ability. And yet I've heard people say, well, that was no good. It didn't work for me. And I'm like, that's nothing on me. That is absolutely nothing on me. I've given you everything that I needed to.
But, looking at this now with our latest lens, with all the work that we've been putting into ourselves over the last 12 months, we could critique ourselves on that now and go, okay, I've given you everything. However, I clearly didn't give...
There was something missing from it.
I didn't give you everything you
needed.
Emphasis on the you. Bold, italic it, underline it, you. So we didn't understand enough about you. And even like taking that down to, we've been really hot lately on trying to understand the best way that people learn. Like, is it through audio, visual, the kinesthetic stuff, like really leaning in on how somebody learns, like the disc profiling. The more you understand about people, you have to really work hard as a professional to be able to adopt and tweak your style to suit somebody else. Because you could be the best of the best, but so using that disc profile, me being quite a strong D, so that dominant characteristic of wanting results quickly but effectively, being nowhere near as risk adverse as I probably should be. That directness. If I'm then talking to a C profile who is somebody like an accountant, somebody like where they want the real nitty gritty detail, and all I'm doing is talking to them big picture thinking, like the theory stuff, the whole, oh yeah, look, this is why you do that. And you're almost seeing 10 steps ahead. If I'm talking to a real detail person, I've lost them. So in my head, I'm going, I've given you everything. Like I've given you the best that I can give. I've given you like all the information, but it's not been received. So it's not my fault. Well, it is because I've not understood their learning profile, but it's not their fault that it hasn't worked either because I haven't spoken to them in a way that they needed speaking to. So we make all of these assumptions that somebody is shit, like a business coach was a piss poor decision for that person, but you don't know the circumstances that surrounded it. The same way you're never going to understand the circumstances that surround your dog owners unless you start to take time in really understanding it.
And talking of personalities and disc and all that, let's face it, there's going to be people that people just don't gel with anyway. And this is the reason, again, why we do the podcast, so that people can get to know us before they even work with us. And in a lot of cases, you've got to look at how much access somebody has to someone before they make that decision. If it's just a 15-minute discovery call, which in a lot of cases it probably is that enough for somebody to make a decision, an informed decision that is going to potentially affect their life in a big way, especially if they've put a big investment in it as well? So I think, again, from like the episode we've done on free value, like it's there for lots of reasons, but that's one of them, is to make sure that people have enough information they need about us to be able to make that decision really easily. And this is one of the things that we kind of pride ourselves on, is that when people do approach us to work with us, they pretty much know the answers to most of the questions they've got anyway, because of all the stuff we talk about. And because sat here now having this chat, and we were talking to some people earlier about this actually, we do it in such a way whereby we're just being us, and we're not hiding anything. We're not trying to put on a persona that isn't real, because we don't see the point in that. Because what we don't want to do is then go, hi, when you're working with us, and have a completely different like point of view. So I think it's really important to recognise that just because one business coach did something in a way where it didn't really like align with you doesn't mean to say that another one won't. Again, exactly like dog trainers. There are millions of dog trainers out there. There's only the one for you. You have to find them, or they have to find you, or you have to find each other in a way whereby it works for you. So this is that fear around like the saturation. God, that's a word we hear a lot as well, isn't it? My area is saturated. Okay, well, it probably is, but it probably isn't, because not all those people are going to be the right people for everyone anyway.
And actually, if you're looking at it with a bit of a positive mindset twist, surely a saturated market shows that there's a market.
There's a need for it.
If you've got people popping up all the time and you've got more and more CPD providers out there, to me, that's a good thing. That's a good indication that the market is growing.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that's a good point. So
if people were leaving it all the time, and they'd be like, why would I want to go?
Which they are leaving it because of the reasons like we've gone into before.
Even kind of compare it to like the high street at the moment. Like the high street is pretty much dwindling, isn't it? Everything's shifting to online. It's been a slowish turn, but definitely increased more recently. So arguably you'd go, why would I now want to open up a clothes shop or something on the high street when everybody's turning to online? It doesn't make sense. But the more people that are going into the industry, I'm like, yeah, I want a piece of that. Just makes sense.
Yeah. Although, let's flip it another way. You've got a lack of activity on the high street, but there's like when we go and train those dogs in that retail park, you've got a real hub of activity in places like that with a retail park. So actually, is it the fact that it's not as accessible on the high street? Is it the fact that, do you know, when you have to park up miles away and walk to a shop and you've got something heavy, or, you know, it's a bit of a nightmare to get? That's why retail parks do really well, because you can just park, get your thing, go back to your car easily. And actually, I do think that, you know, we talk about human connection, and the digital age kind of loses that ability to speak to a human and have that human connection. I feel like that about the high street as well, because I like touching clothes. I like picking them up. I like putting them against me. I like getting a feel for, so what was I thinking about the other day? I was like, I don't just want to buy it online, because I actually want to physically see it and feel it and know it's the right thing. I can't even remember what it was now. But maybe, just maybe, that there's that diversification of like, okay, the high street might not be working anymore, but actually these things are needed, but in a slightly different way. And so for the people that do have a shop, they might be like, oh, do you know what? I love that, because they've actually got a shop and you can't see a lot of stuff these days. So it always kind of swings both ways, really, doesn't it? I think, with these things.
And for me, this boils back down to the specific business strategy that's needed for each individual business. Because there could be some businesses out there that continue with that high street example that would absolutely thrive on a high street. Absolutely thrive.
Card shops and phone shops, let's face it.
But do you know what I mean? Like there's always going to be little nuances. And I think from a business coaching perspective, it depends on what you're looking for your business. So if you've got your strategy absolutely nailed and you know exactly what you need to do, then the next mentor step, if you will be very, very bespoke to you. So for us, we've taken a shift in our mentor for the next 12 months because we've got our plan. We now need to execute it, and we need to execute it in a certain way. So we've needed a different mentor. So we've switched. And that's why we know that that's going to work, because we've got the plan.
And that doesn't mean the other mentor wasn't great, because they were absolutely...
They're great. They've helped
served that purpose.
Yep, they've served
and now
that
we've
purpose.
got to that one.
To get to that. We'll no doubt go back at a later stage in business. But for right now, the next logical step is to invest in this new mentor, which is going to help us in the area of building our online presence further than the basics. Like this is like the advanced stuff. But if we'd have gone to that person first, he would have been a rubbish mentor because we wasn't ready for it. The business wasn't ready for that type of growth. It wasn't ready for that because there was no plan. We didn't have the plan in place. So we needed to get the plan figured out and laid out first before you then start executing it. And then you go, right, I need help on that bit. Who's best to bring in and support me on that? And you can obviously invest in the most expensive mentor ever, which is yourself. Because you're going to get it wrong. You will get it wrong. It'll be a very expensive mistake because if it's not expensive in terms of money, it's expensive in terms of time. And if we're all in this business to try and give ourselves more time, give ourselves more freedom, give ourselves the ability to do what we're going to do, so I do not want to waste my time getting it wrong, is how I look at it. So I will make the money investment and the time investment initially in the areas that I know full well are going to help me move to that next step. But this is where you have to take ownership for you as an individual, for you as the business owner. Detach yourself from the two. You and the business are two separate entities, and look at what is right for the business. Like what is going to take the business to the next level. And that's where you have to really start thinking, well, what is that next step? And if you don't know that, then look for a business coach that's going to help you with strategy. If you know what your plan is and you know that everything is working really well, but you want more, you really just want to go down like Google ads inquiries because you're happy with your model, you're happy with how you're delivering things, you're happy with the price point. Do you know what I mean? Like you're generally happy, but you just want some more leads in, then go to an expert and invest in ads potentially, if that's what you want. If you want to do more social media stuff, then go specifically on social media if everything else is working right. But if you haven't got that plan, then you need to find a coach that's going to do strategy. And hopefully a good strategist will be able to support you in all of those other areas as well. Now, there's an element of, arguably, you could say it's a bit of a jack of all, with the strategy being the core service, but that doesn't mean that the knowledge isn't there on all the other branches. But if you wanted to take it a bit more advanced, then yeah, go and find a specialist in that area.
And there are strategists that just focus on one area of it and not the whole puzzle piece.
Yeah. I couldn't do that personally.
No, I don't think I could, because I'd want to get involved in the other bits as well.
I'd be a bit bored. We really like getting into the nitty gritty of everything. So like stripping everything bare and going, right, why have you started your business? What do you mean why have I started my business? Because I want to work with dogs. Well, yeah, but what's it? And like really peeling those layers back. You're all onions out there.
Yeah, a load of onions. Love it.
But going on that journey to really figure it out. So we will outrightly say we are not the type of business coaches or strategists where we're going to give you a plan to execute. We're not going to go like, here's this, you go do, and then basically call on us when you get stuck. We are that blend of, I'm going to say like creative business strategy alongside some coaching, because I think without the coaching, the strategy doesn't work, because there's always going to be a block. So we have to unpeel what the block is. Like, what's your mindset? Why do you think that that's going to happen without the evidence? Or even if the evidence is there, is the evidence solid evidence? Like, think about it like a science experiment. Is it solid? If you was to critique it, there's going to be holes in it everywhere. So how can we do it again and test it? And going on that journey. So I think the skepticism potentially comes back to a lack of knowledge on both the individual and a lack of, I was going to say professionalism, but I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I mean it in a way of, I think we are pretty unusual in terms of how deep we go on really getting into somebody's mindset.
And that's the main reason why I struggle to articulate easily what it is that we do, because there are so many aspects of it.
Yeah, it's not business coaching. It's a bit of it. It's a branch.
Yeah,
but it's that whole. It's the core aspects of your business and really getting you to think about what it is that you want that next step to be, and really just moving that needle in such minuscule micro movements that sometimes it may not feel like you're doing anything, because the amount of brain power that's needed to help make decisions and to help unpick why there are blocks there. Because we've genuinely seen it, haven't we, whereby the business model hasn't been half bad. It's been like a few minor tweaks. I always imagine, like the old like mixing decks, or when you had to tune your radio in, just tweaking those knobs a little bit to go, oh, look, there we go. We've got some frequency there. Let's keep it there after those fine tune bits. And now let's implement it and then go, right, okay, so how did it go a bit off piste before? Like, what's the block? Why have we suddenly got all of this? Let's fine tune it, look at it again. And you're constantly just fine tuning it. And the thing is, if you are for me, I think the best business owners are the ones that are constantly reassessing. They're always looking at it, and they're always looking how they can better themselves personally. And I think that could be quite a controversial viewpoint, because if you are a hobby business whereby you're happy doing the dog thing on the side, or even if it's like a part-timey type gig, or again, you're totally happy with the money that you're earning, a bit pissed off with, but do you know what I mean? Like, if that pain level's relatively low, then arguably don't look for a business coach. If you're happy, you're happy. Don't let anybody tell you any different. If you feel like you want to change something and you feel like you can implement the odd bit, but on the whole you're happy, crack on. But if you feel like there's some really big gaping holes in your bucket and you're like, okay, now like something's got to change, then make the sensible investment and find somebody that is going to support your next steps. But yeah, I still keep coming back to, I think the skepticism really comes in from other people's views on it. And do you remember a post? Oh, I can't even remember when it was now. It was within the last couple of months. And I think it was meant to be a positive post about business coaches, but I didn't take it as one. And I think it was the whole concept behind, similar to what we've said previously, increase your fees, offer 3 services, and point everybody to the middle one. That's very common thought process around business coaching. But as we've hopefully just tried to explain a little bit, it's a lot more. There's a lot more intricacies that are involved in getting to that point, because that business model may not work for you. It may not be right for the business. And we're always looking at it as the business. We've said before, like some of the things that we've wanted to do in CBA, it's not right. So we haven't done it. But that's because we're coaching each other through what's going to be right for the business, like totally detached. It's not what's right for us, it's what's right for the business.
Absolutely. And then again, like everything, it always links back to what's the purpose, what's the mission, why are we doing what we're doing. And I think the bigger purpose. So if you go back to that like money grabbing, like people are only doing it for money, if they've got no purpose and they've got no mission and vision and values, you could well see that might be the case. Oh, this is easy money, we'll make it. I don't think that's the case in a lot of those, by the way. But I suppose those, if the vision and mission and values are so strong, you should see them. Like you should straight away be almost hit round the face with them because they're that strong. And to me, that would be my reasoning to work with somebody, is to go, you know exactly what you're trying to achieve here, and you want to take other people with you and create the waves. That's what would pull me in. But if I didn't see that and I was like, it's a bit generic, it's a bit like nothing's really pulling, same as dog trainers though, nothing's really pulling out, pulling me in, sorry. That would kind of turn me off. So the stronger your core principles and goals and mission and everything is, that's going to show. And it should show. It should be so bloody clear for someone. And really that's that gut instinct thing, I think, that kind of comes out when you're hooked onto something like that, that's why I need to work with them, because that is really, really powerful. So whoever it is, if they don't have that, I'd be kind of questioning, any business owner really, if they're not having those really clear reasons why they do what they do, the difference they're trying to create, the results they're trying to give people, the outcomes they're trying to give people, like I would be, okay, that's not enough for me just because a few people are telling me you're good. Like I want something more than that. I want my heart to like really be in this. And that's what you want your clients to think when you're a dog trainer. I don't want to go anywhere else. I want her or him. That's who I need to go to. And there's no questions asked. So all of this, I think when we talk about like business coaching, we're also easily crossing that over into your clients, what your clients think of you. So what you guys might think of us or other business coaches, this is exactly what your clients are thinking of you or your peers in the industry. So it's all relatable.
Do you know, I never really realised it until we were having this conversation, just how much it's each individual's mindset that affects the perception of an industry. And then how that can just spread like a pandemic of negative thinking, and it's just out there. And it's so easy to get, because we're hardwired to lean in on the negative, aren't we? It's so easy to talk to anybody about something negative. So hard to have a conversation with someone about positive things.
But even when you have a positive conversation, you have to put something negative in it. When someone compliments you and you're like, I do this a lot actually, because I get a lot of like secondhand clothes and stuff, and stuff like, oh, that's nice. I'm like, yeah, we got it from the charity shop. And it's like, why do I need to say that? Like no one would know that unless I actually told them. Yeah, thanks for the compliment, but I'm now going to like put myself down by saying it was really cheap. And
yeah. Or how like, oh yeah, thanks, but no, I don't.
Yeah, that as well.
I don't agree.
Yeah, I wish I did. No, you do. And sometimes like people do it to get more of a compliment, but in the most part, people aren't. They're like embarrassed by the fact that someone actually says something nice. So
totally hardwired. What do you think then about business coaching? Because you obviously spent 14, 13 years on your Todd.
Yeah, I just weren't on my radar. Wasn't anything. I don't think I'd ever heard of one before. That sounds ridiculous to say that.
No,
I'd
so
never.
Like the car thing, as soon as you see one, you see them everywhere.
No, definitely not in the dog industry. Never heard of anybody having business support in the dog, specifically, like unless it was a course that had a bit of business in it. Never heard of it ever. Yeah. And again, we've had this conversation before, but never thought to look outside the industry either. Why would I do that? Like everything comes from the dog industry. Why do I need to look outside? It won't be relatable. It won't be transferable. It won't cross into this industry. And I guess, I really guess it's, they want bigger things. Like if I did hear about it in another industry, it'd be like, they're another level of business to what I can create. So that isn't for me.
That actually, I'm glad you've mentioned that. I think that is also a common thing, that a business coach should only be there if you are a air quote big business. And again, what what constitutes as a big business.
Yeah.
Is it a price bracket you're working towards? Is it a
staff? How many staff you've got?
Like what is it? Because I know and have been a one-man band doing a 90k, so just shy of six-figure business by myself with support from a mentor. And then I've seen people that have loads of staff, like 150k turnover, let's say, but it's like bleeding everywhere. There's so many issues within. You got like the staff that are just not managed well, or because again, we don't know, like we're trying to do too many things in one. So that needs a different type of mentorship. So even though some of the outcomes might be the same, similar to dog training, like arguably there's only so many ways you can teach a dog to loose lead.
Mm-hmm.
Or same with pick any other exercise. There's only so many ways you can teach them to do it. But you need to understand everything around it as to go, right, what's the best solution for that? And I may need to give you 2 or 3, and you may dip in and out of all of them. And you may end up with this one thing, but you've got to try it, you've got to tweak it, you've got to look at it. And when you're working with someone that truly understands what you are trying to achieve, then it's okay, because we wouldn't be doing a very good job as business coaches, strategists, life coaches. It covers so many things, doesn't it? But we would be crap at that if we were just saying, just do this thing that we've done. Or that perception of maybe, oh, well, you were only a dog trainer, and if you're only doing one-to-one long-term programs, then you're not going to be able to help me, because I do classes and I do agility, and maybe I'm a boarder, and maybe I'm this and maybe I'm that. But it's our job to go, well, let's look at everything. Like every tiny little thing is like there's no stone unturned within that business. So looking at all of it and going, right, what needs to happen? When does it need to happen? What's that next logical step?
But also, if you've got somebody with a smaller vision because they want that, they don't want anything big, the movement that you could create for somebody from where they are to where they want to be could be as big as somebody who is wanting the bigger vision. It's exactly the same. Like the progress for that one person who only wants the small business can be exactly the same in comparison to a bigger business anyway, because there might be so many struggles, like you've said, within that bigger business that all needs sorting first. And actually the needle doesn't move that much because you've got to sort that bit out first. And then, but actually it does make a big difference. But actually on the outside, someone looking in, they'd go, well, that's not much different. But inside, there's been so much untangling and unraveling going on that it has made a big difference to them. So actually, like, it's all very dependent on the specific goals of the person and the steps that need to be taken to get them where they want to be. That's all we're kind of concerned about, really.
So, and I do think that there is that stigma attached to any form of business coaching, that you need to be aspiring for big things. But
you absolutely don't.
You absolutely don't.
No.
If you, and I don't know how to word this without almost coming across as a little bit derogatory, because it's definitely not the intention. If you want a business that pays you a salary to pay your bills, whatever your bills are, whether that's, like we said, 2k, 5k, 10k, 20, I don't know, or 500 quid. If that's your goal, to live comfortably with those bills, but that's a really big achievement for you, that you can do that and it's less stressful and we can help you get there, then fantastic. Like, the business coach is there to support you on that journey. If you want to grow your business to, I don't know, like even a 50, 60, 70k turnover, but you're happy to do a lot more for that money, or likewise, you still don't want to do as much in terms of time commitment, but you still would like that, your desire is that higher salary. Well, okay, we need to figure out how we can make that happen. So the mindset that I think sometimes the figures maybe overtake people's thought process.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
I would only need that support if I'm aspiring for high financial goals. potentially. Well, it's not, because whatever financial goal feels a stretch to you is still, do you know what I mean? It's still something that you're aspiring to. So it doesn't matter the actual figure.
But back in the day, if I'd have known that it was achievable, that I could earn way more than I was, I'd have been in. I'd have absolutely been in way before, like 14 years before I did. Basically, I'd have been like, yeah, of course, because I just didn't think I was capable of earning that much money. But that's my own, like, I don't do dog training for money. But if someone had said to me, but you can do what you're doing in a better way, more efficient, helping people in a better way, getting better results for people, and you can earn a shit ton more money, would you like that? I'd be like, yeah, of course I would. Like, I say of course I would, but I would. But the next person might just be like, nah, I don't want that. I'm literally comfortable with what I've got. Okay, that's fine as well.
And that's it. And each to their own with it. So, yeah, I just find it really interesting that there is so much skepticism about the business world, because I do think a lot of it is down to the individual mindset of everybody. So what's your opinion then? Like, if it was never on your radar initially, when it did become on your radar, how do you feel now over the last couple of years then? Do you feel that there has been an increase in people popping up?
No, I don't. I feel like it's that new car thing. I absolutely do. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But again, like, even if people are popping up, is it a bad thing? Ultimately,
well, yeah, it's a good thing.
You have to figure out, where that negative mindset is coming from. If we're going, oh, well, people are popping up all the time, so it must be a money grab. Well, why does it have to be a money grab? We popped up. We wasn't a money grab.
Mm-hmm.
So where does that come from? That thought comes from somewhere. So this is where we have to go away and do that critiquing of ourselves, which is really hard, or allow for somebody to pull us up on it. And we are hoping, actually, for any of you listening, we are hoping that we will pull you up on these negative thoughts, because you need to be aware of them. And it's with no judgment. It is all about this self-development, this personal development journey that we're all going on, and we're trying to take you on as well. We have to be aware of how our thoughts are impacting our decisions.
Yeah. Actually, one last thing that's popped into my head, actually. Now that I follow a lot of business mentors, coaches, whatever, I would say is the ones who appear, if they ever appear money grabbing, by the way, the ones which might lean towards that money grabbing are ones where they're really faceless. Do you know, when you don't see them very much, you know, when you don't see a physical person, you don't see pictures of them, you don't see anything about their life, that to me, I'm suspicious of that, because I know the benefits of all of those things. And that if someone is genuinely, again, wanting to make an impact and wanting to do the right thing, they'd want to shout about it, and they'd want people to see them and get to know them and all that kind of stuff. So that is something I would say, is that and this is just my opinion on it, but I would say that if you don't see much behind the business, like the business frontage, then I might be a little bit like, okay, that would make me skeptical, actually. I'd want to see more stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what? You've just reminded me of another thing I'd seen, and I think this is quite a common thought as well. Maybe not as common, I don't know. If you can't find a business on Company's House.
Oh, yeah.
Now, knowing what we know now about wealth creation and trying to really protect your assets and future-proof and everything, there are a lot. If you're a savvy business owner, let's say, and this is, I don't even think this is a podcast episode. I think this is almost like a 6-month program in itself on wealth creation. However, if you've got a super savvy business owner and you would like to think that actually they are business coaches, because they will also be consuming this knowledge and applying it in their own life, that company may not seemingly appear on Company's House because maybe they've got an offshore account. And then, oh my God, all the negativity. Offshore, it must be a scam.
Yeah.
All that stuff comes in. But Again, I'm not getting into
Or maybe they've got a different business name.
or a different business name. Yeah. All these things are like, well, actually, if someone's making it quite challenging to find you, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a savvy business owner playing the game of, oh, I'm trying to be more tax efficient. Again, so much into it. But if your initial thought is scam, then we need to check in with ourselves again and go, where does that come from? I can already hear my mum in my head
Yeah.
with things like that. I'm going, no, not always. Sometimes, yes. But again, do that due diligence. I hate
Yeah, I was going to say, do other checks then. If there's something like what I said about the Facebook account, if I'm not seeing much, I'd want to go somewhere else and see if I see it there. Maybe it is just that they're not great at showing much on. Let's go see Instagram. Let's go see their website. Let's go see Google. Like if we don't see anything anywhere, I'd be like, okay, that's not great. I don't know who the hell you are. I don't know anything about you at all. What is going to drive me to work with you? That's what my opinion would be.
And I would possibly even take that one step further as well, that if you are genuinely considering working with someone, but you feel a little bit, I feel like it's the right decision, but I'm just not sure. If you ask that person, and you should be doing this in your actual day-to-day business as well, if your clients are feeling the same, well, offer to connect them with somebody that you're already working with so that they can have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, it's never for you to try and get somebody. It's never for you to try and tell somebody that they have to work with you. Certainly shouldn't be a business coach's place, the same way it shouldn't be a dog trainer's place, to tell somebody that they have to work with you. And if they don't work with you, sometimes I've had some really poor experiences before where you feel almost guilt tripped into doing something or made to feel like a failure, so you should do it. That's never a healthy position to start a working relationship from.
No, actually, it got me thinking, the guilt trip thing, when you get people knock on the door and they're looking for money for charities.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm always guilt tripped there. I'm always sucked in.
How much do you lie to them as well and tell them that you already signed up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that.
They must know.
Yeah.
What bullshit.
But I did feel good because when the Blue Cross ones come around, when I used to work for them, I'm like, no, I work for Blue Cross, so I don't need to do
I'm
that.
not lying this time.
Genuinely.
But no, ask to speak to somebody else that they're working with them. If you've got nothing to hide, which hopefully you haven't, and if you genuinely believe in your product or service, then absolutely, you should be able to go and speak to someone. And actually, your existing client base or past clients theoretically should also have no issue in talking to somebody else because they would have received an amazing service from you. So there's so many ways you can go and check in on someone to make sure that it's the right fit for you, and take the right amount of time to make that decision as well. The more you understand your own profiles as well. So if you've not heard it yet, go back and listen to the DISC episode we did with Andy. It's an incredible starting point to start figuring out how you do things and the way that you act on things, because you'll then go, oh, look, I can make quick decisions. I don't need to go away and think about it, because there's nothing worse. Like if you turn around to me now and went, oh, well, we need to think about working with that. I was like, I can't do it. Like I've already made my mind up. I'm either in or I'm out, and that's just how I operate. Whereas for you need a bit more processing time. It's gotten a lot shorter, but you still need that processing time. So even just by being aware of it, play to your strengths and go, right, if I'm happy to make a decision quickly, I'm in. I'm not going to allow myself to feel remorseful over something because that's the decision I made, or that's how I look at it. But again, for you would theoretically not feel as remorseful as I potentially could because you've considered the decision a lot more. So lean in on it, go speak to people, go find out what works for you, figure out what specifically you need help with regards to your business. Is it the whole plan? Is it figuring out I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do? Go and find somebody that does strategy.
Yeah.
If you need specific help on social media, go and find a specific social media coach. Even better, if you think that your area of expertise is Facebook, go to a Facebook social media expert. So you can always keep refining it and test it and try different things and work with different people and just keep absorbing and learning as much as you can. And we're always going to be here in this podcast, in your ears on a weekly basis. So we'll keep chucking this stuff at you as well. But try not to feel too skeptical. Check in with yourself and ask where that thought comes from.
Good advice.
Yes. And actually, if this episode has piqued your interest and you are interested in learning more about the strategy, then please do go and check out our book, which is on Amazon, called Let's Talk Dog Business Strategy. Order it, read it, consume and implement. And we'll catch you on the next episode.